Welcome everyone to another episode of the Shade and Shit Talking Podcast. I'm your host TK, and as always, I thank you guys for tuning in. Now this episode is the third part of my 4-part Black History Month series, and this episode will focus on recommitment. Recommitting ourselves to not only learning more about our history and teaching more about our history, but also about recommitting ourselves to being a better Black community overall. That means being a better man or better woman to the next man or woman. That means reaching out to help one another, to learn from one another, to assist one another in whatever the case may be. Now is the time for us to uplift each other, more so now than ever. Recent happenings in the news, in every facet of the news, whether it's politics, whether it's sports, whether it's music and entertainment, I have seen a lot of Black people at the throats of each other. I mean, relentlessly. We had the Grammys, come and go, and that was a lot of smoke between Cardi fans and Nicki fans. I even saw a story where one guy stabbed another guy over saying Cardi deserved the Grammy and Nicki didn't, or something to that effect. Then you had the Steve Harvey and Monique interview, and people are at odds over that. You have Kamala Harris and Cory Booker, and people are at odds over that. And while all of this is going on, and you know who they are still chugging right along, getting everything they can at the expense of our dumbasses, because we are completely focused on all the wrong things. And I say our because, hell, I've been guilty of it too. I have been guilty of losing focus, losing sight of the objectives, and drifting off into something that is really inconsequential when you think about it. So, anyways, it got me to thinking about what we are seeing and what we're doing, and how we can recommit ourselves to bettering our situation. Now, of course, everybody know about Black History Month, and Black History Month, in my opinion, is here to recognize the social, cultural, and economic contributions, medical contributions, music contributions, art, whatever, of Black people and people of African and Caribbean descent. It's not just, a certain segment. I'm talking about across the entire diaspora. Now we here at Black with No Chaser, we have been very proactive with our commitment to teaching about our history. We've done quite a few Black History with No Chaser moments. We have dropped, small stories about past and present people making history and doing, good things. And friends of ours like my guy Jarius Thomas over at the Unapologetic Geek, he has dropped, his things of Black History moments about the different Black movie characters and comic book characters and superheroes and villains and whatnot, and giving backstory on all of them and how they play, their roles into, blackness, period. So we've done a lot of different things to show that we are serious about the things that we say. We aren't just talking it. We really trying to walk it. But just thinking about, what was going on, I thought about how we should recommit ourselves to educating ourselves first and foremost. Because growing up, I wasn't taught about Black history in school. Real Black history, in school. And I started, doing some reading and seeing different things, and it's quite disturbing, some of the things that I've come across as far as the whitewashing of our history and them telling us stories that's more palpable for them and not the truth. So I ask that each and every one of you to commit yourselves to really and truly educating our children, educating the ignorant, attempting to educate those who don't know or really don't want to know. I would still give it a shot at least once. Because some of the things that I've seen is really, really disheartening. Like, I talked about, Rosa Parks last week, and we all know her story. Her real story is what's the problem. What they teach in school. Now, in the school books and the lessons that they bring out, they have Rosa Parks as this old, feeble woman who only refused to give up her seat because she was tired and beat down from work. And they do this because, again, it's a much more sanitized version. It's much more easier for them to take. But the truth of the matter is, no, Rosa was not some old beat down woman. Rosa Parks was, I believe, 42, 43 years old. And her feet weren't dog tired. She was a seamstress. She worked 6, maybe 7 hours that day. The only truth that they told was that she was tired, but not physically tired. She was tired as fuck of the oppression. She was tired of the systemic racism. She was tired of feeling less than. She was tired of being treated less than. That is the only truth that they told, was that Rosa Parks was tired. And I asked my kids about it. Like, what did they tell you in school? And what I felt they would learn, they confirmed it to me. The same old tired whitewash story by Rosa Parks. So then, I started looking at other stories. And we posted a story on Black with No Chase a few days ago about it was a story about Dr. King. And in this story, it was about a father confronting a teacher because of some things that this teacher said to his son in class. And in this lady's telling of Dr. King, she told the students that Dr. King committed suicide. She said that he wasn't assassinated, but he died by his own hand. This is a substitute teacher that said this. Now, I don't find it surprising, not at all. I just find it disturbing that she would go that far for somebody as well known, whose story is as publicized as his. But again, they don't care. They really don't give a shit about what they say, what they do. It doesn't matter in the least bit. And those are just two of the many stories. And then you have like Ben Coon Carson, HUD secretary, who during his speech when he got appointed, he had this to say.
That's what America is about. A land of dreams and opportunity. There were other immigrants who came here in the bottom of slave ships, worked even longer, even harder for less. But they too had a dream that one day their sons, daughters, grandsons, granddaughters, great-grandsons, great-granddaughters might pursue prosperity and happiness in this land.
Now, hearing that from a black man, a book smart black man. I mean, this dude was one of the top surgeons ever. Hearing this from him was very disheartening. I mean, he of all people should know better, but he has proven time and time again that either he A, don't give a fuck, or B, he is just such a brainwashed coon that he is too far gone to even worry about. But what he said, it falls right in line with other stories that I've seen. Now, I know you guys have heard of McGraw-Hill. For those of you who haven't, McGraw-Hill is it's one of the main textbook creators that distributes books throughout majority of the schools in America. And last year, maybe 2 years ago, they found themselves. I take that back. It was probably 4 or 5 years ago now that I think about it. But they found themselves in a bit of a controversy because of some things that they had worded in their books. Now, on this lesson in one of their world geography books, when it talked about slavery, the book, the textbook called African Slaves, Workers, and Migrants. Not slaves, not human beings who were kidnapped and tortured and turned into slaves. Because, first of all, let me just say, black people were not born slaves from Africa. They were not slaves. They were human beings, fathers, mothers, doctors, lawyers, teachers, uncles, aunts, daughters, cousins, whatever, who were kidnapped and turned into slaves by force. But that's another story. We'll talk about that in the education part of the series. But anyways, so the book talked about how the Atlantic slave trade brought millions of workers. And they basically framed this as an immigration type of thing. Same as with what Ben Coon Carson said. And they used the term forced migration. Forced migration. So in the book, they had this section called Patterns of Immigration. And in this section, it talked about how it gave different views and different snapshots of how various ethnic groups arrived to the Americas. And it had this passage. It said, and I quote, "The Atlantic slave trade between the 1500s and the 1800s brought millions of workers from Africa to the southern United States to work on agricultural plantations." So now it is, considered immigration instead of what it really is. Kidnapping, forced migration. No, it's slavery. So we can go on and on and on and talk about. There's literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of instances I'm pretty sure you all could point out in history, whether it's in movies or TV shows or whatever, where they have whitewashed America's history. Like I said 2 weeks ago, Black history is American history, but they refuse to accept that. They refuse to tell the truth about it, and they choose to sanitize it as a means to desensitize the history of this country. And we must recommit ourselves to fighting against that nonsense. So moving forward, another, as I was talking earlier, I was talking about, taking care of one another, helping one another, and things of that nature. Well, there are other ways that we can, more tangible ways, I believe, we can help each other out when it comes to blackness, period. Not just Black history, because our history is 365 days a year. It's not just relegated to just 1 month. Well, it shouldn't be. This is something we should practice day in and day out. Black excellence should be celebrated every single day. It deserves to be celebrated every single day. I think February is just a reminder, just a yearly reminder on the calendar that, hey, we should be doing this, this, and this. But since we are in this month, since we are in the month of February, I think there are some things that I can do, things that I will do, that I am doing to celebrate Black history, to commit myself to honoring not just my ancestors, but the people that I'm here with now, the people that's making history every day. So one of the things that I have made a focus, a practice, is to support more Black-owned businesses, to advertise more Black-owned businesses, to spend money with Black-owned businesses. There's a lot of Black people out here doing wonderful, wonderful things, meaningful things. And it is up to us to get behind them and support them. Like, we quick to hop on boycott bandwagons. So we quick to hop on boycotting white companies or Italian companies like Gucci. We should be just as quick to hop on the bandwagons of supporting Black designers and Black companies as well. So, and there's many ways to find, black businesses near you. I'll look for the site that I was using and drop a link in the write-up on this podcast. Another thing that I think we can do and I can do is to actively seek out local black history. I mean, we read about stuff, we know about Montgomery, and we know about Black Wall Street, and we know about, and I just learned about this, shout out to Miss Angela Dennis, fantastic writer, but about the history of Owens Mound in Memphis, Tennessee, that predated Tulsa. Like we know about those. Some of us have never been to those places, but we know about them. We should also know about our local history. Like, I'm from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. I know about, Vernon Damer. I know about Medgar Evers and those who were close proximity to where I'm from. I think we should all do that. That way we can pick up where these bogus history classes in school left off. Another thing we can do is learn about the unsung heroes, the lesser named, the lesser known civil rights activists and history makers, and those who on the surface it appears to be a small thing, but it is actually pretty big in the whole scheme of things. Like any victory, whether it's great or small, is a victory nonetheless for us, and they all should be celebrated. Every single one of them. Another thing that we've started doing, and I've joined a couple of book clubs myself, where we focus on black writers, both old and new. But we should celebrate more black literature, whether it's fiction, nonfiction, whatever your preference is. I think we should celebrate black literature, support black literature, because nobody can tell your story like you, period. Now, I know there's a lot of people who love Harry Potter and some of the other things I've never personally read them myself, but and that's fine. But there's room for everybody when it comes to reading and learning, but I think we should be very proactive in reading and learning our own from people who experience the same life lessons and the same journeys that all of us have been on. I think that would be huge. That not only February, but beyond February, we commit to supporting the works of black authors and black writers day in and day out. Huge. And finally, and this one is very, very close to home for me, very important for me because I consider myself to be one of these. But Black with No Chaser is a black think tank, a black creative. Like we are moving to tell stories like we feel no one has told before about everything, from movies to music to TV shows to think pieces to case studies to whatever. Every facet: music, sports, literature, art, science. Doesn't matter. But I think that we as a group as a whole, as a community, should reach out and support all of these black creators. We should support everyone who's out there expressing themselves artistically in the black community, who's out there being a substantial role model, a positive force in black culture. We should actively commit ourselves to helping them move forward. And by the way, I appreciate every single one of you who support Black with No Chaser and everything that we're doing and trying to do, and hopefully everything that we will do. But that's just what I think. That's what I feel like overall, from start to finish. If we did all of that, all of these different things, we would be in a lot better position, a stronger position to take our rightful place and get what's rightfully ours in this country. And that's just how I feel. So for those of you who have listened this long, I appreciate it. I just want to leave you with this by asking each and every one of you, along with myself and my friends and my family, is that, we continue to celebrate our black culture and take time to appreciate it, as well as appreciating those who are creating it and nurturing it and moving it forward. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, gather around for this week's episode of Colonizer Nonsense. My first Colonizer Nonsense moment starts me off in Colorado Springs, Colorado, where if you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. Headline: a primetime protest backfires. So, the owner of Primetime Sports, a one Mr. Stephen Martin, decided after 20 years of being open, he has to shut his doors. He says, and I quote, "I just can't keep the doors open anymore." Why, you might ask? Well, last year when Colin Kaepernick was made the face of Nike's Just Do It ad campaign, Mr. Martin didn't like it. So, in response, he decided to sell everything Nike related half off to liquidate his assets in the store, and then he decided to discontinue selling all Nike merchandise. Big mistake. So, the problem with that is, you cannot fight big business and win, especially when they are supplying 40 to 50% of your entire inventory. I guess he really hated Colin. Now, he figured if he showed his race card, the other races would be like, hey, we're gonna support him. We're gonna take care of him. I guarantee you, all the motherfuckers who's burning them $40 Air Monarchs went right back and bought some more as soon as the shit died down. You played yourself, you big dummy. My next Colonizer Nonsense moment, I'm gonna file this one under That's What Your Ass Get. Headline: Jason Van Dyke, the ex-Chicago cop who murdered Laquan McDonald, was beaten in his cell by inmates, lawyer says. So, in other news, who gives a fuck? That's what your ass get. So, this cop who's serving nearly 7 years in prison, only 7 years by the way, for murdering this young black teen, was assaulted by fellow inmates as soon as he was transferred to a prison in Connecticut. Now this is according to his wife and his attorney. Again, so what? Now he was convicted back in October of second-degree murder and 16 counts of aggravated battery with a firearm for this 2014 shooting. And again, He only got 7 years, 81 months to be exact. So his attorney came out and said he was attacked in his cell on February the 7th, 2 days after he arrived, and he suffered facial injuries in the attack. Apparently somebody knew who he was and they did it for the culture. And I, for one, don't feel sorry for this dude. In other news, what y'all having for breakfast? And my final Colonizer Nonsense moment, this is just a callback to a story that I covered earlier, and we finally got a resolution. Headline: White supremacist gets life for killing black man to start a race war. So this white guy who killed a black man with a sword with the hopes of starting a race war was just sentenced to life in prison without parole. Now, in my personal opinion, he really should have just been executed. That's just me. I mean, if they was looking for somebody to pull the switch or press the button, I was their man. But anyways, so this guy by the name of James Jackson, he was a former U.S. Army specialist. He apologized for the slaying. Sure, why not? But he pled guilty last month to first-degree murder in furtherance of an act of terrorism in the March 2017 death of Timothy Cogman, a 66-year-old black man who was minding his business and got murdered, all because of this guy and his fucked up beliefs. And yet, they didn't kill him. But meanwhile, you get pulled over with a busted tail light, and your chances of dying is a lot higher than his. I wonder why. This segment I like to call For the Culture is where I talk about people who have went above and beyond, regular people who have went above and beyond the call of duty to move the culture forward, to progress black people forward in a positive and uplifting way. And it's somebody or a group of somebodies or whatever who I think deserves the honor and recognition that we give the celebrities and whatnot who move us forward as well. So that being said, this week's For the Culture person that I wanted to talk about resides in my home state of Mississippi, the city of Moss Point to be more exact, and she goes by the name of Jovan Bradshaw. Now, Miss Bradshaw, she is a math teacher at Moss Point, and she teaches at Magnolia Middle School. So, what she did was to honor Black History Month, to teach her students about Black history, to uplift her students about Black history. She made a sign for her door. And on this sign, she wrote, "Dear students, they didn't steal slaves. They stole scientists, doctors, architects, teachers, entrepreneurs, astronomers, fathers, mothers, sons, daughters, etc., and made them slaves. Sincerely, your ancestors." That's dope. That is really, really dope. Now, at the time of this, that poster she made, she also dropped a quote at the end that said, "Stay dropping knowledge," which she did completely. Big ups to her. But that post, it garnered well over 16,000 likes. It's been shared over 100,000 times, and it really caught fire across the internet. It was featured on the Today Show and various other publications, both in print and online. Now, what she did was she used this platform in another positive way. She created a GoFundMe, and she said in part, "Being in a Title I school is hard because resources are limited." And she had a goal of $35,000. So everybody who's listening to this, within earshot of this, who know about this story, please look her story up. Please look up her GoFundMe, and please donate. I'll be donating myself as well as Black with No Chaser, because what she is doing is what we all should do. She is recommitting herself, committing herself to not only teaching black history to her students, but teaching it to others who come in contact with her. So once again, big shout out to Miss Jovan Bradshaw for moving the culture forward. She's doing it for the culture. This week in sports, the Money Edition starts me off with the NFL, where I find myself happy as hell and celebrating the fact that Colin Kaepernick and Eric Reed both just got broke the off. So, we all know the story. Colin took a knee back in 2016, and after that season, he found himself pretty much blackballed from the league. Now, for those of you in the back who really don't understand how this shit goes, let me give you a quick rundown. So, Colin sued the league for collusion. No, he didn't sue to get his job back. That's not how the shit works. No team can force you to sign anybody. But what they did do was collude with the 32 other teams to keep them from signing him. And what he did was sue not to get his job back, but sue because they kept him from earning a living wage in his chosen profession. Now, you do know they can't do that. So, for those of you who think he sold out, no, he did not sell out. The man just got back pay for what he should have gotten or could have gotten. But since they prevented him from earning that, they gotta pay him. And from what I've read, that figure is between $50 to $80 million. So, who knew from taking a knee to finding himself knee deep in that money? I ain't even mad at it. And I'm pretty sure the money that he do collect, he will use it to further his work. That's right, further his work and his charities and walking it like he was talking. Good look, Colin. Elsewhere in the NFL, tune in for this week's newest episode of Gridiron Divas, starring Antonio Brown and the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Like sands through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives.
So this week, Antonio Brown decided to address some of the key differences that he had with Ben Roethlisberger by responding to questions on Twitter. Now, a user asked him about what led up to his Week 17 absence, and Antonio said that there was a lack of mutual respect because the Steelers quarterback has an owner mentality. What? This was his exact words. No conflict, just a matter of respect, mutual respect. He has an owner mentality like he can call out anybody, including coaches. Damn. Players know, but they can't say anything about it. Otherwise, they meal ticket gone. It's a dirty game within a game. God damn. So, AB is out here airing out all their dirty laundry. And this came just days after he officially asked the Pittsburgh Steelers for a trade. Now, the owner of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Art Rooney, said he wanted to meet with Antonio Brown. He was going to fly down to Florida to talk to him. And Brown was like, nah. But then after Valentine's Day, Brown had a change of heart and said he'll meet with him. Now, I don't know what it was. It possibly could be Art Rooney got him something real nice for Valentine's Day. Well, over in the NBA, it's All-Star Weekend in Charlotte, North Carolina, and it's about to go down. Now, All-Star Weekend kicked off on Friday night with the Celebrity Game and the Rising Stars Challenge. But the real fun, the real shit that everybody's interested in doesn't kick off till Saturday night, and that's the three-point contest, the skills challenge, and the dunk contest. Now, I'ma just tell you this. If you in the Charlotte area, I know you party, I know you kicking, I know you having a real good time spending a lot of money. And I hope everybody is safe, drink good, smoke good, whatever you want to do. But as far as the All-Star Weekend is concerned, it's not that big a deal anymore. Nobody really cares. But I do know this about All-Star Weekend. 1, the dunk contest is trash. Will always be trash. It hadn't been good since Vince Carter did his thing way back in the day. 2, the All-Star Game itself, no defense will be played. It's just another exhibition full of all the All-Stars that nobody really cares about the game anyway. And 3, all the tuition that's about to be paid at the Shaker Booty clubs, cause apparently every girl that's stripping is working her way through school. Shout out to Diamond. And finally, since I started off talking about money, I'm gonna finish off talking about money. And right now I'm talking about Floyd Money Mayweather, who has found himself at odds with not only people in the black community, but also with 50 Cent and T.I. All of this stems from Floyd supporting blackface sweater producing Gucci. Now, in an interview with TMZ, he talked about basically he really don't give a damn. He rich, he got money, he living his life, he ain't a follower. He gonna do what the fuck he wanna do, wear what the fuck he wanna wear. And that's fine. Live your life, do what you want. But don't get mad when people take offense to it. So that's where we at with T.I. and 50 Cent. Now 50, in his usual petty way, came out with a bunch of letters and memes and whatnot mocking Floyd's illiteracy. And it was pretty funny, I ain't gonna lie. But T.I. took it a step further and he came out with a whole diss song talking about Floyd Mayweather. And it was brutal. It was a dope song too, very dope beat. But anyways, Floyd in response came back with a very well-articulated, well-written, well-crafted letter, apparently written by somebody else, where he expressed his frustrations with not only Tip and 50, but with black folks in general. Now, that's where I draw the line. Look, man, I don't give a damn what you do, how you spend your money, how you live your life. That's on you. But don't talk your shit and do it at the expense of downing other black people. We ain't got shit to do with that. You do you, we do us. If it's fuck us, then that's fine. It's fuck you too. This week's episode is brought to you by the fine folks at Russell Stover, where all of their Valentine's candy is 90% off. So if you're smart like me, you'll buy it right now and freeze it for next year. I will see you guys next week. The end of another episode of the Shade and Shit Talking Podcast. And as always, I thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate the likes, the shares, the downloads, the follows, all of it. It is very much appreciated and you guys are very, very awesome. Now, I encourage you to tune in next week as we finish up our 4-part series about Black History Month. And it will be talking about re-educating ourselves, and it extends to educating those who don't. So I'm hoping to have maybe a guest or two to come on and talk about it. If not, you'll have me here dropping what I know, dropping what I can learn and find. So please catch us next week for that finale. As always, we here at Black with No Chaser, we try to do our best to move forward the culture, progress the culture. We are for the culture. So we couldn't do it without the love and support of each and every one of you who follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Follow us on our website, www.blackwithnochaser.com. And we just can't thank you enough. Without you, we actually won't be who we are. Couldn't be who we are. So again, check us out next week. Continue to check us out on the various platforms, and we will continue to try to do our part to uplift and enlighten. So with that being said, thank you, and I will see you guys next week.
Oh, thank you.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.